How's it going, YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be talking about the laws you must respect in China as a foreigner to avoid going to jail or getting into trouble with the local police. For a breakdown of these laws, you can look in the description down below. If you want some tips and tricks about living or working in China, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Anyways, let's get started. The first law of respect is as soon as you land in China and pass immigrations, register with a local police station. The reason I say this, if you're here just for leisure and you're going to a hotel, they usually typically do it at the register itself. That's why they ask you for your passport so they can register you with local police. But if you're going to be staying with a friend, if you don't have a temporary residence permit and the police checks you and they see, although you're here legally on a visa, you don't have a temporary residence permit, nor are you staying at a hotel, if they're having a bad day, they could try and take you in for further questioning. So just avoid that situation all in all. But like I said before, if you're in a nice hotel, they usually typically do it at the hotel. And if you can just prove that you're staying at the hotel, you should be fine. The second law to respect are visa privileges, the visa laws. So if you're married in China and you have a spousal visa, you cannot work. If you do work under a spousal visa and the police spot check you and find out, they can take you to jail. Most of the time, they will take you to jail. If you're here on a tourist visa and someone gives you an offer to work, like at a school, but you don't have your work visa yet, and the police find out, you're gonna go to jail and possibly get deported and maybe get an exit ban for 3 to 5 years. I'd be very careful with this because there are people that will snitch on you if they find out that you're working for another school under the wrong visa just so that they can get some money out of it. So just be careful with that situation. As long as you register a business here, have a business visa or have a work visa with a legitimate company, you should be good to go. But if you don't respect the laws, they will crack down and they will deport you and put you on the news and say, oh, we arrested over 3,000 illegal workers here that were teaching in English schools, whatever it may be. Okay, the next one is don't do drugs or sell drugs in China. I know this is obvious to some people, but back at home, especially in some states or some countries, well, weed may be legal. In China, all drugs are illegal. And little do you guys know that in some very popular bars, the police will stop the party and check everybody's passports, especially the foreigner, and may even do a drug test. If they find out that you're positive and you're here under illegal visa, then they'll deport you, or they can just confine you for a long period of time, then deport you. Or worst case scenario, if you're like a hardcore drug dealer, they can even sentence you for life. And some bar owners, they're smart. They have a connection with the police and they can say, hey, today we're having a lot of foreigners coming in. It may be a good time to check the foreigners. The next law to respect is stay at hotels that accept foreigners. I know this sounds weird and it may be unfair to some people. The typical cheap rural hotels may not have a foreigner license to host foreigners, whereas they can register foreigners into the local police system. If they don't have that license, they can't offer you a room. So don't try and play the system by having your Chinese friend book a room for you, and then when you try and check in, you can't get into the room because you're a foreigner and they can't register you with the local police and they don't have a proper license. If you were to be found doing this and trying to play the system, and someone were to call the police because you do stand out like a sore thumb if you're a foreigner, then you could potentially go to jail. Next thing I recommend you guys follow is don't start a business without the proper paperwork. My wife owns a wedding design company here in China, and it took her quite a while to actually register her business. And believe it or not, like 2 days after she opened shop, the police came in and checked in all her paperwork, make sure she had all the fire marshal standards, etc. And if they were to find out that you open it illegally, they will shut down your company and they will take you to the closest jail cell. So don't do that. In addition, with competitors ratting on you, if for some reason your company was opened falsely and you have some extreme debt that you may owe to either the renter, the government, they can place an exit ban on you. So as soon as you try to leave China and when you hit that immigration center and they see your name and you're on the no exit list, you're kind of stuck in China. So then you have to deal with lawyers and maybe additional paperwork and find a way to get the money to pay back the government or whoever you're renting the the property to, and that just leads you down a bad rabbit hole that you don't want to go down. So make sure when you start a business, you register it properly. And if you would like to see a video on that, just let me know in the comments below and I'll look into it. Okay, this law may be a little bit obvious, but China itself is an anti-gun society. The only people that have guns here are pretty much law enforcement, military, and if you're like in the Olympics or in some kind of a professional competition to represent China or an international competitor. Those are like the only cases that you actually have a gun here. Overall, the mentality is like no one can carry a gun here. Because there are a lot of cameras in China, you're pretty easy to track, and if someone were to find out that you have possession of a gun, or even worse, that you're trading or selling guns here, they can definitely send you to jail, and depending on the severity, if you're selling like mass amounts of weapons, they could send you there for life and you're kind of stuck in jail for the rest of your life, or place an extreme exit ban on you where you owe tons of money and then get deported back to your country and never be able to return back to China. Another thing you should respect that may be another obvious case is don't steal or commit murder, because like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of cameras and word talks fast. They can find you pretty quick. There's been cases in China that children have been kidnapped and found within 4 to 8 hours. The case was that a random old lady was kidnapping a child and then went to the speed train to book a ticket to go to another city, and before she was able to even board the train, the police were there ready to arrest her and to return the child. So don't do any of that stuff. Another thing you should respect is don't head into restricted police or military areas. Sometimes the signs may not be obvious, or they may not even be in English that it's a military zone. And especially if you have a camera out, or they feel like that you're spying, taking pictures, filming, whatever it may be, you may be quickly approached by a military official saying like, what are you doing? And they may take you in for further questioning. If you're just like a clueless tourist that have no idea what's going on, just tell them, hey, this is a complete accident. Please tell me how to get out of here so we can avoid this confrontation. But expect a lot of them not to be able to speak English. So you may want to have a translator with you, or you may have to wait for them to bring an English translator. Another law you should respect is don't be drunk and belligerent in the streets. I know in a lot of places you can drink outside and kind of wobble your way back to your house. But if you get in any confrontation with a local here, even if they start it, and because you're a foreigner, they will most likely take the local side. Not only that, they can also demand that if there's any damage done, that you pay for the damages. Like if you punch somebody's face and give them a black eye, they'll typically ask for 3 to 4 times more than it's worth to patch up a black eye. And they can take you to jail until you pay that amount. And if the opposing party is not satisfied with what you settled with, they can keep on asking more, demanding more. You don't want to be put in that situation. So avoid confrontation and any drunken, belligerent behavior in China. Like as soon as you're done with the club, just go in your taxi and go straight home. Then the last law you should respect is driving in China without a Chinese driver's license. No, I don't mean that you can drive with an international driver's permit. You actually need a driver's license from China. And I actually made a video about that, and you can look at it right up here on how to get a driver's license in China. But in China, if you're caught without having a driver's license and you're driving as a foreigner, which can be enough means for somebody to pull you over just because you're a foreigner. I know it sounds kind of bad, but it can happen. And they find out you don't have a driver's license, they can take you to jail. You can get thrown a lot of fines, and it'll be a big hassle to seek the legal help that you need. So like I said, just don't drive in China unless you have a driver's license. So that's it for the major laws that you should respect in China as a foreigner. For most of them, if you use common sense and the right state of judgment, you'll be okay. Like you're gonna be okay, you're gonna enjoy China. There's plenty of things to enjoy in China as a tourist, and it's safe. But if you try and do things like drugs and parties or physical confrontation with Chinese locals, that's when you can get in real big trouble and get sent to jail, and that's not something you want going back home to your home country. As long as you use common sense, you don't confront any locals or get physical with them, then you can avoid going to jail, you can avoid getting deported, you can avoid getting an exit ban because you owe a huge debt to the government. You can avoid all those things, and you can actually enjoy China for what it is. There's plenty of touristic areas and great things to do here. If you like my video, or if you want to see any more tips and tricks about living or traveling to China, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Anyways, If you have any ideas, comments, or suggestions, I would like to hear them in the comments down below. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.